But it's no doubt that the healthcare system is broken. And this is not just about the US, but everywhere. I'm originally from Italy. I've been living in the UK previously, and I now live in the US. And it's pretty easy to see that every country across the world has a lot of room for improvements. Every single year, we spend over $4 trillion in the US alone just for health-related expenses. And that's a lot of money. That means that every single American spends approximately $12,000 each year just for their health. And every year, it's getting worse. Good healthcare costs a lot of money. I actually remember when I started working in the US and I had to analyze some routine activities, things that we all have to do, like having to call an ambulance or just having to go through childbirth. And I remember my numbers looked really wrong. It looked like something like having to call an ambulance was over $1,000. Well, having to go through childbirth, approximately $15,000. And so I remember I asked my team lead to go through my calculations, as I was sure there must have been something wrong with them. And so she did, and then she came back and just said, no, everything looks good. It's just the US healthcare system is extremely expensive. And still to this day, every time I try and explain to my grandparents that live back in Italy how expensive and inefficient it all is, they still struggle to grasp it. They think I'm crazy if I said to them, hey, you know what, I'm gonna take an Uber to go to the hospital this time, like a lot of my friends do. But I'm not here just to paint this very negative and grim picture. I'm actually here to say there's a lot of hope. And that's because over the past few years and decades, we've had a lot of different changes, especially in technologies. We've had technologies leaping ahead, especially thanks to the huge explosion of data that we've witnessed since the beginning of the 21st century. And also our computers just getting faster and faster every single day. And there is one technology in particular, which is what we call artificial intelligence, which has been making the headlines for sure. Now, AI is defined as the ability of a system to truly understand patterns in ways similar to those of an intelligent being, like a human like all of us. But even more specifically, you just think of it as providing so much data to a computer until it starts to understand the relationships between inputs and outputs. And so if, let's say, we give so much patient data to a computer, it can understand that, yes, an unhealthy diet is linked with a higher likelihood of getting diabetes. But AI is not just a buzzword. Well, it's a bit of a buzzword. It's been overutilized, especially in marketing for the past few years. But it's also something that's been truly changing different industries, like the transportation one, with companies like Uber and Lyft, hotels with Airbnb, and even just how we interact with each other, thanks to companies like Facebook. Now, there is one industry, though, which I'm sure you'll know, that's been ripe for disruption, but it's still lagging behind. And that's the healthcare industry. Now, thanks to the revolution in AI, we're also at the cusp of another revolution, a revolution in healthcare. So how's this going to look like? Well, for sure, it's not going to happen all at once, but rather we can think of it as 3 different steps. First, for a complete overhaul of its data, then thanks to what we call AI-driven insights, and finally, thanks to personalized treatments and recommendations. But the first step has to be about truly building a strong and solid foundation before moving ahead. A bit like in any system that we want to make strong and robust and solid, we have to start with a strong and solid foundation, in this case of healthcare data. A bit like a child first has to learn how to walk before being able to run. In the same way, we have to first start with a strong and solid foundation of healthcare data before moving ahead with something much more complex like AI. And that's because one of the biggest issues in the healthcare industry is that data is not being easily shared. For decades, we've had data basically stuck in doctors' handwritten notes, with only a few people being able to understand doctors' handwriting. And even when we moved on to electronic health records, only a few systems were and still are able to talk to each other. So we've had data stuck in our hospitals' databases, data stuck in our smart devices, and even just in the genetic testing service that we often use, like Ancestry or 23andMe. And this has created a lot of headaches. Doctors are literally burning out every single day because they have to enter the same information over and over in different systems for hours. Patients, too, have to say the same story. They have to tell the same story to doctors and to providers every time that we switch from one to the other. And even AI systems really don't like this, as they have to truly use a lot of data to be able to then become powerful tools. And so the first step has to be about building a strong and solid foundation, but also private and secure, of healthcare data. Once we're going to have this foundation, we're going to be able to go ahead with the second step and provide AI with the fuel that it needs to be a truly powerful tool. And that's because a bit like a doctor that has to first go through thousands of cases and train for years before being able to actually make a split-second diagnosis. In the same way, an AI system has to go through thousands, if not millions of records before being able to make a diagnosis as well. But more importantly, and even more powerfully, an AI system is also able to make a prediction about the future. But able to say, thanks to the diagnosis, procedures, and demographics of a patient, let's say, what is the likelihood of getting diabetes next year? But even more powerfully, they can just also tell us virtually any other disease, from high blood pressure to cancer, and provide information so early on to doctors and to patients that they can take the right decisions to then either slow down the progression of the disease or fully stop it. Plus, this information is also providing a pretty easy-to-use way to doctors, because they can have these AI systems into apps, the apps into tablets, and then we can provide the tablets to the doctors and have them just enter very little information about their patients. Things like their age or gender, some diagnosis, and have on-the-spot a prediction. And now, this is not just going to stop there, because once we're going to have these predictions, we're also going to be able to drill down in what are the so-called risk factors of these patients and these diseases. We're going to be able to say, for instance, that a patient that has diabetes has a projected worsening of their diabetes because they might have not been taking the right medication over the past few months or so. They might not have been taking insulin, let's say, when another patient with a similar diagnosis, like diabetes, and a similar progression, might have a projected worsening of their diabetes because they may not have been taking a correct diet, let's say, or the right healthy lifestyle. And so we switch what's usually called traditional medicine to what we now call personalized medicine. And that's extremely exciting and powerful because it basically does what we already see with Amazon or Netflix, providing us with tools that can truly change our lives based on recommendations on our individual characteristics and the things that we like to see. Even more powerfully, though, because this can provide us with the tools to fight diseases like cancer or diabetes or high blood pressure. Now, this sounds so extremely exciting, but what's even more exciting is the fact that all of these technologies already exist. For years, we've had companies and research institutions truly being able to develop AI systems that are able to predict the progression of diseases like diabetes or high blood pressure. And even more importantly, providing us with the nudges on the right actions to take to actually then be in control of these diseases. It'd be like how Apple Watches tell us that we have to stand up because we've been sitting down for too long. But even more powerfully, because we're able to basically fight these complex diseases that truly affect our health, like cancer again. But now there is still so much for us to do to truly go ahead with this revolution. So what do we have to do here? Well, first of all, we have to not fear these technologies because they are not here to replace us, but rather to empower us. Technologies like artificial intelligence are not here to replace us, but rather to become tools that can make us become healthier people. And for sure, we should be skeptical about their use in complex industries like the healthcare industry, where we have to truly have our life literally on the line every single day. But we should also understand that all of these technologies can be helpful and powerful for us to truly be able to become healthier, become better human beings, and fight these diseases. So rather than fearing these technologies, we should advocate for their correct and responsible use in hospital settings, in the emergency room, so that we can truly go ahead with this health revolution, become healthier people, and while doing so, truly lift our body and soul. Thank you very much.